everyone and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a little while, I think it's been about a month or so since I last posted a video here on this channel on YouTube, and that's been because I've been a bit preoccupied. I have another channel. I talk about my weight loss with Mounjaro, so those weight loss injections, those controversial weight loss injections. I happen to be really doing well on Mounjaro, and I'm sharing how I'm getting on and really focusing on fitness and diet and stuff like that as well with Mounjaro as a tool. If that's something you're curious about, I'll put the link for that channel in the description, but that's where I've kind of been, that's where my head's been at. And so I've taken a little step away from perfume too much. However, I still love perfume. I still love wearing my fragrances. I wear my perfumes every single day, but I've just had a bit more of a focus when it comes to actually sharing about them. However, I am here. I'm here today to talk about 3 perfumes that I think are comparable. They're all from the same brand, and you'll know from the title that we're talking about Chanel, and we are talking about Chanel number 22. And I've got this 200ml bottle here. I've actually got a backup as well of this, which is crazy. Then we have the original Chanel number 5, so the very first perfume that Chanel ever launched back in 1921. Number 22 was launched in 22, hence why it's called 22. So 1921 and 1922, those perfumes have been out a long time. And now we have Chanel number 5 Eau Premiere, which I have this little bottle. I think it's 50ml. Yeah, I've got this little 50ml. I got, actually all of these I got secondhand because I'm a tight bitch. But I do advise caution if you're going to do that yourself. You can get a bargain, but you can also find yourself with a fake. So whatever you do, really do your research if you're going to buy Chanel products secondhand on eBay, Vinted, that kind of thing. But I have been very successful with these Chanel perfumes. So what we're going to do, I think we'll start with the original. I want to compare these 3 because they are, in my opinion, go away, go away. Sorry, there's an intruder in the garden and Annie would not be happy. She's gone to investigate. She would not be happy because it's another cat and the door's wide open. Back to perfumes. So these are all the most aldehydic of the Chanel perfumes in my humble opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't think of any that are this aldehydic. So we're going to start with the original. Now this is not a vintage version. This is a current formulation. And I have come to find, after testing a few different vintages, that I really like the current formulation. It's the most wearable out of the all the older stuff, and the Pure Parfum. I really like the current formulation of the Pure Parfum, although in the end I decided not to keep my Pure Parfum that I did have, because I actually think that I'm just as happy with the Eau de Parfum and I can spritz with abandon, whereas I felt like I really had to be careful with the Pure Parfum. So I didn't keep the Pure Parfum. And yeah, the current formulation is my preference. And so I'm gonna spray, we're gonna go up here. I've got no perfume on all this arm here. So we're gonna spray at the top, a little bit at the top. And in my opinion, in comparing the 3, 22, Eau Premiere and the original number 5. Number 5, the original, is probably the most intense of the 3. It's not the most long lasting, so we'll keep that in mind because I'm going to come to that in a bit. But it has the most intense opening. Now they're all going to have really, really similar notes. I think they've all got jasmine, ylang ylang, iris. Can't remember what else. So they are all aldehydic florals, and they are mostly white floral, but you have that ylang ylang, which obviously is a yellow floral. And to me, aldehydes can come off a little bit sharp, a little bit fizzy, and especially the Chanel aldehydes give you that champagne-like feel, that as if you've just poured a glass of bubbly champagne, put your nose straight in the glass, and it's like intense sort of oxygen, bubbles, fizz, effervescence, brightness, but a little bit sharp, like hairspray as well, a little bit like hairspray, but the hairspray might even be coming from the iris, because sometimes iris can smell a little bit like hairspray to me, which I quite like it anyway. And there's a powderiness, might be the iris again in the original number 5. It doesn't smell too dated. Now, I never thought I would say that, because I used to think that Chanel number 5 was very dated, a very specific kind of fragrance that probably only really appealed to more mature noses, or those that just loved the classic. But I've really come around to it, and I think I've really come around to aldehydes in general, which is probably part of the reason, and I've really come around to Chanel in the last few years as well. I used to think Chanel was really boring. If I was watching YouTube videos and someone was sort of bringing up a Chanel perfume to talk about, I'd probably not bother watching. I'd be like, oh God, how boring, Chanel. I'm so the opposite now. I love Chanel. I couldn't be without Chanel, my Chanel perfume collection. I really, really love it. And I used to really love gourmands. I used to really like the the modern gourmands that smelled sort of very specifically like desserts and things. I've just completely changed. I like perfumes to smell like classic perfumes nowadays. If you're not into classic perfumes, and if you're not into aldehydes, then none of these 3 are going to be up your street at all. So yeah, for me, the opening of Chanel is a burst of freshness. It's almost a little bit like sticking your head in a freezer or something as well. It's very cold, and that fizziness, champagne bubbles, and then flowers, very perfumey, proper classic perfume flowers. So not necessarily like smelling a jasmine bush when you're in the Mediterranean. It's not that kind of floral to me. It is perfumey floral rather than photorealistic floral. There is a sweetness to the perfume and an amberiness, and again the amberiness is a little bit more old school. Chanel number 5 used to have real civet in it, and I have tried some versions that do have that real civet, and you really do pick up that animalic, almost pooey musk note, but mixed with the ambery base. And I actually find it wearable, but it is not as wearable as this current formulation. And of course, no one really wants animals to be harmed when making perfume. It's not necessary in this day and age at all. So I would rather have the non-animal ingredients of number 5 current formulation, and I think it smells cleaner. I think it smells much more acceptable to modern noses. Those sort of vintage animalic fragrances just aren't that palatable, especially in this day and age. People like that clean aesthetic and all of that, you know, clean girl aesthetic, all of that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say this necessarily falls into the clean girl aesthetic. One of these I think probably does, but probably not this one, because it is quite intense, because it is very perfumey. It's quite a blast with those aldehydes, and then it settles into slightly sweetened ambery floral base. For me, the longevity is okay. I would say I probably get 5 or 6 hours where I can smell it on myself. It's very intense for that first half an hour to an hour, quite a projection, but I actually find it fairly subtle after that. The older versions, way stronger. But as I say, I actually prefer this current formulation. So that's number 5 Eau de Parfum current formulation. Now, let's talk about, let's wait for the bloody helicopter to get past us. So let's now talk about the next Chanel perfume to be launched. And that was Chanel number 22. Back in 1922, I think it was probably just in pure parfum form, just like Chanel number 5 was. I don't know, over the years there were various formulas. There was definitely a 22 in a cologne and probably other formulas as well. But now the only one available is in the Les Exclusive line, and it is this number 22 Eau de Parfum. And this one, I think we'll spray this one up here. This one is, we'll start with the longevity. The longevity on this is outstanding. It way surpasses the other two. So if longevity is key for you, if perfumes don't last very long on your skin, this one is more of an investment because it's in the Les Exclusive line. But as I said, I got mine secondhand. You can find a partial bottle fairly easily on eBay. Obviously really check. You want to make sure you've got a batch code engraved. Make sure you can scratch it and it's still there. Do all the checks. I'm not going to go into authenticity checking Chanel's. I've done that in other videos, so obviously go and have a look at that if you want to, and check out other people's videos on checking, comparing real and fake Chanel perfumes. But yeah, I got my 2 bottles for very good prices on eBay. This one's been pretty used because I do top my mum up. My mum really likes this one. So I've given her decants and I keep her topped up as well because I've got so much I can freely give it away without feeling too much heartache. So Chanel 22 is the most long lasting. I think it's probably the biggest projector over time as well. So when you first spray Chanel number 22, I'd say it's on a par with the projection of the original number 5 Eau de Parfum. But number 22 just seems to project more and for longer. Number 22, I think, is a little sweeter in the opening, a little less intense, easier to love. I think the aldehydes are maybe slightly different, so it's definitely still really aldehydic, but they just don't feel as sharp. So when I said Eau de Parfum number 5 gives me a bit of a hairspray feel, I don't get that so much with number 22. Number 22 has more vanilla, whereas number 5 is more of an amber mix. So I think number 5 is more resinous with a touch of vanilla, whereas number 22 in the base feels much more vanillic, but it never feels gourmand and it never feels like a basic cupcake frosting vanilla feel. It doesn't, the vanilla never takes over, but it does in time. As the florals burn off, the vanilla is much more noticeable, but very classy, mixed in with the florals. For me, Ylang Ylang leads the way. There's rose in both, but I don't find them particularly obviously rosy, but I think maybe number 22 is a bit more rosy than number 5. But I don't know. Number 22 feels more modern, even though it only came out a year after number 5. Obviously, I have no idea how this relates to the original number 22. But this number 22 feels a bit more modern, a little bit more acceptable to the modern noses, and I think it might appeal to a slightly younger crowd than the original number 5. There is still a sharpness to it, and from this bottle, which is now a little bit older, I've had it a year or so, and I'm not sure how old the bottle was when I got it, but it has aged, and as it ages I do get a touch of an animalic nature from it, even though there's no animalic note as such. When you first spray a fresh bottle, it's not so, how do we explain the animalic? Almost like an animal fur, so not animal butt, not anything fecal, but kitten fur or something like that. Maybe not kitten because it's not that soft and fluffy and lovely. Maybe a tiger fur. Not that I've ever smelt tiger fur, and that's probably for the best, especially if the tiger is alive, because I probably wouldn't come out alive myself. But yeah, imagine a tiger, sort of a bit of a growl, a bit of yeah, a little bit of something sultry about it. But that doesn't last too long, that animalic touch, and you've still got the florals with, in my opinion, the ylang ylang leading the way. And then it's softened because it's more of a vanilla than it is an amber. And there's a powderiness. There was an incense note listed in the previous iteration of this, the Eau de Toilette, but I don't think that's listed as a note now in the Eau de Parfum. And I've heard from other reviewers that the incense is less prominent in the Eau de Parfum. However, I do feel like I get something a little bit like an incense, very, very subtle, maybe like a touch of an incense smoke or something, but for the most part it is a powdery floral with that vanilla, but not in a sweet, cloying or modern designer way. It does have that maturity about it because of the aldehydes. So for me, number 22 out of the 3, longest lasting, strongest overall, and I wouldn't say it's my favourite, but I probably, if I could only have 22 or number 5, I would choose number 22. Number 22 beats number 5 Eau de Parfum for me personally. That is obviously a matter, or it's a very subjective opinion, and if you tried all 3 you might feel differently, but that's just my opinion. I really love 22, that's why I've got 2 big bottles. Now, a recent addition to my little perfume collection is this one here, and it's Eau Premiere, number 5 Eau Premiere. This was my scent of the day, and I really feel like this one is the easiest of all 3 to love, to like, to wear. It's the lighter of the 3. It's not so intense. It seems to be a happy medium, I think, between number 5 Eau de Parfum and number 22. I think this is the middle ground. So yeah, I wore this one today. I'm going to respray here, and this feels spring summer, whereas number 5 feels more autumn winter. 22 year round, maybe a bit too rich for summer, but this is the lightest one, totally spring summer worthy. It's got this refreshing feel. It's like spring dew on grass. Like if you get up in the morning and you've got real grass in your garden, unlike me who has plastic grass and I love it, but if you had real grass, you got up on a spring day and you went out barefoot, it's like you as you step on the dewy grass, just the smell of spring, moist and cool, just rises up. That's what I get from Eau Premiere when I first spray it. So yeah, it's lightly green like grass, but sweet. So the dew is sweet on the grass. The aldehydes are more subdued than both the other two fragrances we're talking about today. The aldehydes are definitely there, but I'd say they're at half, if not a quarter, the intensity of the aldehydes in number 22 and number 5. It's the whole thing is just joyful. It's light, it's fresh, it's dewy. So you have the florals still, probably the same florals. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I can pick up all the individual florals. It feels like, yeah, jasmine, ylang ylang, just a mixture of white florals, but the florals are just slightly green but honeyed, so not too green, not leafy green. Like I said, the dewy grass, sweetened, yeah, honey, like the water in the dew is being kissed by bees. There's a nice powderiness. I'm assuming there's iris in here. Maybe some other things that lend it a little bit of powderiness. And some vanilla. So this is more like 22 in terms of that vanilla. Again, no way is it cupcakey, too sweet, cloying, nothing like that. This is a perfumey perfume, but it is lighter. It is not too intense, and you could definitely wear this on hot sunny days, but I feel it's very, very spring-like. I wore it today and I would say that it has given me 5 to 6 hours very light projection. So the first hour or two, decent projection, and then it's more of a case of someone might need to catch your sillage for them to notice the perfume. So it has more subtlety to it. It lacks the intensity of 22 and number 5 Eau de Parfum. I would say it's slightly sweeter than number 5 and just less intense, less aldehydic than number 22, more playful, younger, youthful. I was a bit obsessed with being able to try this because it was recommended to me a long time ago. I was talking about my perfumes on my YouTube channel and someone commented that I would love Eau Premiere, or I would probably love Eau Premiere, and it became a mission for me to try it. But it took me a long time because this is not in department stores, it's only going to be in these specific boutiques. I managed to smell it at H Beauty at Lakeside Shopping Centre. H Beauty is basically like a Harrods, a smaller Harrods, and they had it. So I sprayed it on the card at that time because I already had perfume everywhere. And I really enjoyed it off the card. And I never got a chance to try it again until I saw it for a reasonable price on eBay, I think it was. It was either eBay or Vinted. And it was, yeah, just a partial bottle, but I have used a lot of this. I mean, when I got it, I would say it was probably up here somewhere. This is my easy reach, everyday grab and go perfume, and I wouldn't do that with number 5 or number 22. And my perfume choices these days are more easy reach. I'm not really going out that much at night time. So I like my more daytime perfumes, and even if I'm just hanging out indoors at night, I tend to go for the more daytime easy reach perfumes. So for me, the one that I will probably wear the most is number 5 Eau Premiere. But the one that I love, truly love the most, is probably number 22. But I really enjoy all of them. I have no plans to get rid of any of these perfumes, and I have some matching products for the number 5 as well, which I love. And I did wear that today. I wore the number 5 body oil with this as well, and I really enjoy that. So for me, I'm really happy to have all three. But yeah, number 22, if I had to at a pinch decide to only keep one, probably be that one. But number 5 Eau Premiere is the one that I think is more versatile, and just one that I can happily wear and never ever worry that it might be too much, too intense or offensive in any way. Whereas number 5, when I feel like it, I really love it, but sometimes it feels like it might be a bit too intense for certain weathers or certain situations, or it might be too much of a memory jogger for people as well. I think there's always that worry when you reach for a really classic, well-known, like bestseller perfume. You always run that risk of triggering people around you, and of course there's no point worrying about these things because you have to wear what you love. But sometimes it just makes a perfume a little less versatile, for me anyway. So that's my thoughts on number 5, number 22 and number 5 Eau Premiere. Let me know if you have any of these perfumes, if you've compared them yourself. What's your favourite of the 3? I would love to know in the comments below. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and I will do my best to make another video soon as a wasp. Thanks for watching. Bye.